Radio Hamra, you're on the air. Hello? I don't know if the microphone's open. Is it open? Hello? Radio Hamra, you're on the air.
Can you hear me?
Now I can, yes.
Okay, hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you doing?
Thank you. So my question about my life and focus in life, since the beginning of the pandemic, I've been working from home, remote working, but I'm realizing in some days I don't do much. I just procrastinate, do other things. I have my regular corporate work job, and I have a side hustle. And in both of those things, I realize that not every day, but in some days, I just do maybe 1/10 of what I could have done with my time. The rest of the time, my mind wanders. I go on my phone. I do side things that it's inconsequential to my end goals. And some days, I write the tasks that I need to finish. Maybe I get, one item or 1/10 of everything that I need to do. Part of it, I think it has to do with the fact that, my question to you, if this is normal, or a part of it, I think, is I don't know if I'm normal. I get the fuel of my life by interacting with other people. So when I have a Zoom meeting, even though it's a Zoom meeting, it's 10 minutes or half an hour, afterwards I feel charged. I feel like I have the gas that makes me go. But I'm not, when I don't have those human interactions, I feel I feel like, physically I'm good, but mentally I feel like I don't have the inspiration and enthusiasm to make me go and be more ambitious.
So
does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Of course, there'll be more to make sense of in asking you what else is going on. As far as if it's normal for everyone, working from home was a big adjustment. Some people thrived more than others. So, like anything, there are some typical things that happen, but people respond differently. It seems like you're saying that being around others or interacting with others gives you energy. Also, which it could be part of, when we talk about introversion versus extroversion, people that are more extroverted get more of a energy from other people. Introverts sometimes actually get drained of energy, but so it could be partially that. Another part of being around people is if you're in the office, but also in Zoom, it could bring up this sense of being more accountable, like you're being seen. Whereas when you're home alone and no one's there and you're not seeing anybody, it's easier for us to lose that accountability to others. So if if we put a camera on you tomorrow that's going to be broadcast live streamed online, I'm sure you'll have your most productive day in a long time because everyone's watching you, right? So
there's nothing unusual about me.
I don't know. I rarely will tell you there's something unusual. There might be some things we can look at specific about you that might make this even harder, and then because of that, things you can try to do to counteract that to help you be more productive. But a lot of people felt this dip in productivity, or I work with people that are working and also students in high school and college, and there's this strange feeling of you're in your room and it's where you go to school and it's also where you do your work, but it's also where you do everything else. And so sometimes having separate spaces can be important. Scheduling your time as if you're on a schedule can be good, to help it so you're more productive. But, there's some things we can try to do, but it is important to look at your individual psychology, personality, and what's led you to get to this point. And also other factors, and I'll ask you about them, your work and how you feel about your work and this side hustle and other things, those can have an impact too. So if you don't like your job very much or don't feel passionate about it, well then even more these things of not being accountable and working from home will affect you.
I wanted to quickly ask you in the parentheses, I don't know how related, I think it's related. So I am an extrovert, but my question is, being an extrovert, you get your energy from meeting people, from interacting with people. I think in my specific case, I get even more energy if I'm interacting with people I haven't met before. Like, new people kind of energize me more.
Okay.
Is that usual, or is that like a personality flaw, or something is wrong with me?
You've brought that up a few times. If something's wrong with you, which I get that, and it's just maybe you could be different in some way. But it's important to look at that. Meeting new people, there's obviously an excitement there, and maybe it means you're comfortable meeting new people. Some people are more nervous when they're meeting someone new. They'd rather spend time, and that also could be more related to introversion, just more comfortable with people you already know rather than new people. However, realistically, I mean, there are some types of jobs where you might constantly meet new people every day, but a lot of the work we're going to do, you're interacting with coworkers or similar clients repeatedly. This is kind of cool. Me and you are meeting for the first time right now, so maybe that's something new in that way.
That's good.
Generally speaking, you are going to be working with repeat people, and that also could bring up this notion of how do you feel like you do with relationships, because yes, meeting new people can be exciting, but is there something about getting closer to people that also you don't like as much, so meeting new people keeps it also more surface rather than going deeper?
Yeah, I do well with relationships.
Okay.
Just another thing that kind of adds on top of what I said, I was living with my son and a partner / companion, and it just happened that right around the time of the pandemic, my son got to an age that he moved out, for college and so on, and my partner, although we have some degree of partnership right now, but she kind of moved out to buy her own house and kind of live more independently. So I lost that part too, and I think that may have something to do with the overall picture of that, me not having enough enthusiasm or be enough energized enough to do things.
If you're talking about just in general, not just because we're, I don't want to emphasize everything on the extroversion, but if you're, your son not being there, then a partner not being there, and then the pandemic, you did go from being around people and interacting and connecting with people probably way more than in the pandemic. It dropped a lot, which it did for everyone, but your drop off might have even been more extreme because of these life changes with your son and partner. Mm-hmm. Tell me also just some information about yourself. How old are you? You have one son. Do you have any other children? Give me some of that background too.
I'm mid-50s, and I only have that one son, and I'm divorced.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I have this other partner that was a post-divorce partner, and I don't know, what else can I tell you?
That's some of the background. What kind of work do you do?
Well, I do intellectual work. I do I work with software. I make software.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's the other thing. I love to be outside and just exerting energy and using my muscles. But it's hard to do that while you're doing software.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so it seems like
really
the opposite end. I mean,
well.
Yeah, it has the word even like soft. You talk about like exerting and strong, and then you're working with software. It's just so probably a lot of screens and things of that sort. So and sometimes our work, ideally, I think it's better to find work that makes us feel good doing it, but sometimes we can, and we have to make up for it in other ways. So being active in ways that I hope you're doing and you might be doing.
And for good or bad, I told you that I do like 1/10 of what I could have done. Because of, I don't know if it's being smart or what it is, but it's people I work with, it's not suffering, even though I'm doing 1/10 of what I could have done. Everyone is happy with me and everything, so I don't feel that pressure from that side that, oh my God, I'm going to get fired, I better do more of this. And even side hustle, I am losing money. I'm literally, because of lack of enthusiasm and not doing things, I'm not making as much as I could have. But that's being compensated by stock market doing so well. So maybe in the back of my brain, that's, there's a thing going on that says, hey, you're fine. You have enough, more than enough, way more than enough that you need. Why bother?
And that's the mindset that is comforting, but comfort has two sides to it. Comfort sounds nice and cozy, but it also tends to mean we're not fulfilling ourselves, or we're not going to feel good long term about what we're doing. So even as you said, with your work, you're doing 1/10, or you're not really putting in a lot, but it seems like it's enough. But enough means just to not feel any negative things. It doesn't mean it's going to make you feel good, or that you're going to feel good about it. And so as human beings, I discuss this on Monday's show a bit too, but we're still animals in the sense that we're trying to expend less energy a lot of times to survive and just be okay, but our higher order type of feelings and wants require us to actually put more input and effort in. And so we have to always overcome this tendency towards not doing, because that's the easier, and in some ways our emotional pull is going to be that way, to do actually more to feel better. Because that's what it seems like, as I'm hearing you now talk, life is good, like you're not suffering in some way or in some huge crisis that you're not going to make it, financially or anything like that, but you're feeling unfulfilled in what's, at least the way I'm hearing you.
I feel somewhat unfulfilled. Like, for example, I have always wanted to learn how to fly an airplane, and I think I have the means to do that, but I'm not doing it. Well, I could put some of that because of COVID, but now that's almost over now. I feel less ambitious, and I'm kind of in peace with that. But then there's this, how you have that duality, or maybe multiplicity in your mind, that there's like so many voices talking, but then there's this other voice that says, hey, you're not doing that, you should have done that, you could, fly, learn how to fly, maybe have your own airplane and do a lot more, but you're not doing that because it's fun, it's sun, good food, and traveling. I travel every couple of months.
And then the other voice tells you, like, it's kind of like the who cares, like everything's okay, so why why bother? And that's what you have to ask yourself. I at times with my clients, or in general, ask people to think ahead, like 10 years, 20 years. What would you regret not doing if you look back on that? You can't know for sure, but what do you think you would regret not doing? And if this, for example, getting your pilot's license or training to learn to fly, if that would be one of them, then you have to consider, okay, it's going to be harder to do it than to not do it, because that's how it is with anything. But if I think it's worth it, I have to try to set myself up to get that done, because it's going to be worth it. Because you're right, there is this duality, it's not exactly two different people, but it is like we have these multiple selves in a way, and there's the short-term one and the more long-term one. And the short-term one is always going to want to take the easy way out. Who cares? Right. It's not a big deal. What happens if you don't do it? There's reasons why. And we can also look at, are there some anxieties you have about going forward with the flying that also can get in the way?
Yeah, I do have some of that. I forget what it's called. They have that word, the fear of better options, and fear of doing something wrong. I do some of that analysis paralysis. I keep telling myself, like, and it's been proven to me, I've lived long enough to know that doing anything is better than doing things slow or not doing anything.
Absolutely.
Just moving forward in life, regardless of the outcomes, is better than just sitting and thinking about it.
And it's hard to accept it, but recognizing that every day you don't sign up to do the pilot school, that's also a decision. It's not that you're not making a decision, but it feels that way because you're not doing anything. But not taking action or inaction is a decision, and often the worst one that we repeatedly make is to not do something. So you're right. You can think, I should think about it more, and a lot of times those are excuses we make to prolong doing something for multiple reasons. Just taking the effort. There could be some anxieties about it, doing it the right way. Well, how do I know it's the right school, let's say? But these are all excuses to prevent taking the action, doing work, because that's generally the easier thing. But we have to be aware of what that's going to set up for us. So, we're at a commercial break, but I do want to continue the discussion about what's going on, for you to reflect on what you think is holding you back from going forward, and we'll explore some options of things you can try out. All right?
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Sure. Let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Before the break, we're with the caller. Let's go back to him now. Caller, are you still there?
Yes, hi.
Okay, all right. So, as we talked before the break, there was this kind of a lackluster feeling you're having. Things are okay, but you're not feeling totally fulfilled. And I did ask you before the break of what comes to your mind of what's holding you back. You said COVID and things are going on, but I'm wondering what's your kind of feeling, and also, were you much more productive before in your own time? Have you seen a big change? Because there's some things I want to ask you about.
Yeah. So if I'm an engineer, so I do numbers. So if you put it like 1 to 10, if 10 being most productive, before any of these COVID and staying at home and remote work was happening, maybe I was like 7 or 8, 6, 7 or 8. Maybe now I'm 2 or 3 or 4.
Okay, so that's a pretty big drop. How do you feel overall? Has your mood gone down?
Overall, I'm good. I kind of fulfill it by traveling. I mean, I didn't travel for a good six or 7 months. I didn't do any, but now I got vaccinated. So every couple of months, since the beginning of the year, I've done 3 trips. So I go on those trips and I'm really energized and I'm feeling really good, and I meet 3 people, interact while I'm out, and I come back and then it is like I feel like, oh, there's nothing that can stop me. I can go forever, but it kind of fizzled. Like I come to the house. I basically live by myself now. I come to the house and I greet the doors and windows and the empty rooms, and after a while it just kind of fizzles down again, and I wait for the next trip.
Well, I mean, there does seem to be, even in your joking way of greeting the doors and windows, like a loneliness that you're experiencing.
Yep.
And I think traveling is a wonderful thing, and people, especially right now, are so excited to get to do it again after not doing it really for the last year plus. But there is something of what I usually, even if I feel it sometimes, I really like, is when you go on a trip, to enjoy your trip, but also to look forward or not mind going back home. But it seems like for you right now, when you're on the trip, you enjoy it, but going back home is a unpleasant thought or feeling or experience, at least. Or maybe you think it's going to be good, but once you get home, you're saying that fizzles out and your mood goes down. So it's important to look at what is my, and it's all part of your life, the traveling too, but the typical day-to-day, some things might be really missing that we don't want to ignore and say, I feel good when I'm on vacations, and that hopefully will last me enough to get through the next however long till the next vacation, because something's missing there. Even I'm wondering, in your relationship, the fact that your partner moved out, usually that's usually not without any feelings about it. So what was that like for you, if you want to get into those details, but what happened there?
Yeah, there's a whole can of worms there, okay. But here I go into it. She was basically depressed, and so while we're together, I wasn't getting much. It was more like it would bring me down. So while she's away, while we haven't completely disconnected, I see her a lot less than what I have the capacity for or I desire. But then again, when I do see her, it's just for short times, and we'll do our intimacy, the this physical stuff, and then it's not an ongoing, sustainable relationship, and she knows that, and I know that, and we both. I don't know if it's a lack of better options or what it is. It's just kind of lingering around, and yeah, that's where that is, and it's overall. I don't think it's a long-term positive thing. We both know that this is not a long-term thing for us, but we've been together for a good chunk of time.
How many years?
10 years plus, so we could say 11 years plus. And what part of that was maybe it was like 4 or 5 of it we lived together, and it was kind of misleading because, like I said, I was divorced, so I would when I was divorced, I had my son part-time. So I had my son part-time. When I had my son, I wasn't with her, and when I didn't have my son, I would spend time with her. So I was with her kind of part-time also. So that had a maybe misleading effect of the fact that we were very compatible, because whatever thing that we did, the incompatibilities wouldn't show up until as soon as it wanted to show up, the time was up. I would go be with my son, and then I'll go back with her. So that kind of made it look like it was sustainable. Yeah. And then when she moved in with me long term, then we realized very quickly after 2 years ish approximately, realized that no, it's just in a sustainable way, this is not working.
So it seemed like you wanted her to move more than you're saying. It seemed like she was bringing you down in a way. Her like how I'm an extrovert and I get energy from people. She's exactly the opposite. She would hide away from people. So interactions with other people. She would a lot of times she would go with me, but then she wouldn't show it, but sometimes she was so nervous inside from meeting people, or even not even meeting people, just interacting, but even family members, that it would she would sometimes would have to take a pill to go for a party, Okay. So but what about when you were home alone, just the two of you?
When I was home alone, she would watch excessive many hours of TV, and we would spend some time together, but she didn't have that zest for life, the thing that you just go out and you say, hey, I want to do this, and travel, and she would get those things, but a short period of time, she had this thing that's let's do this, let's travel, let's cook, let's do this, and then it would go down for maybe for 2 months it was down, and then for 2 days she would have zest for life.
Okay.
Overall, it was just she knows it herself, and she had gone to a number of different psychotherapists or and took those the pills, the depression pills, and that impacted her libido.
So
yeah,
even if we look at your relationship, it's like there's a bit of a comfortable way out here, where it's not being with someone that really you want to be with or might push you more or something, but not breaking up with the person you're with. So there does seem to be this again, the sense I'm getting, and I don't know if it's just because she wasn't the right person, but getting too close, you didn't want to, the closeness wasn't quite there at the level, it never was there, you're saying before, because of your son, and then once it was possible, it seems like it wasn't working out. So yeah, maybe you're just not a good match, but maybe there's something about getting close that is bringing up something. So again, if we look at this theme, it seems to show up again. It's just comfortable. Okay, I have someone, we see each other sometimes, and we have intimacy, and but I don't know if there's the emotional intimacy and closeness there, and it's also not ending, which it is. I get it, 10, 11 years. I'm not saying a breakup is easy, but there is this sense of, but the comfort zone is showing up again. Yeah,
there was the comfort zone, and we got emotionally close as anybody can ever get close, very, very close, and physically very, very close to. But that depression showed its head, and I felt like I can't we felt close enough that we would, when you live together or are together for a very long time, you really feel the other person. So she felt the fact that I wasn't happy, and I felt the fact that she wasn't happy. Yet we had that emotional connection built over the years, and it kind of still continues. I mean, somebody said, like, if you've been with someone more than 5 years, they're family. Then they could be family, but you could say, I can't live with you. It's not really fulfilling.
Well, and you can also, but that doesn't mean you have to. I think that also sounds like an excuse that you have to stay with her, or you need to stay in this relationship because now she's family. You're right. There's an emotional bond and attachment that's going to get formed after that long. And of course, if we care about someone, we care about how they feel. But it doesn't necessarily mean, well, if someone's kind of feeling down, then we need to not be with them. I don't know how down she was, but I'm wondering, how do you deal with your own sadness or being sad? Is that something comfortable for you, something you can tolerate?
I bike.
Okay.
That helps. I go under the sun, climb mountains,
and those are very healthy, general habits and coping mechanisms. But I'm just wondering if there's an avoidance of feelings also that you might be dealing with, or generally the way you approach feelings is to get away. So if she's sad, again, we don't like it, and it depends on how severe and prolonged and all of those things. But I'm feeling from you this sense of I don't want to feel sad, and that can also lead to things like avoidance of work or things that don't feel good, going towards the comfort and not going into what might not feel good but might be more meaningful. And that's generalizing because clearly you've done a lot of work and done things. So I'm not
yeah,
trying to
you're correct. With her for a number of years, I don't know how many, 2, 3, 4. I felt responsible for her depression, and I felt like we are partners, and I'm a part of this, and I'm trying to fix it. We'll do this, and we'll do this approach. I was trying to find a causality that these breadcrumbs are leading you to being depressed. It took me a long time to realize that maybe there is no causality, maybe, and I'm not. People like you guys go to school for many years. I'm nobody to try to fix this, and even if I wanted to fix it, if she doesn't want to, there's nothing. It took me a long time to reach that conclusion.
And maybe it's not so fixable in the sense that it might not go away. It might be something that's part of her mood. It seems like it's different from you. Right. How she's feeling for herself is most important. But and even if it was a therapist with someone, and that you can't fix your partner, or you shouldn't be actually even focusing on that. The way you even said it, there was this and it seems like that's how you've dealt with a lot of life, which has a lot of pros. There's a problem, you fix it, but then sometimes there's problems that don't get fixed, and we have to see if we can accept them at some level or deal with them. And I'm getting that sense that part is hard for you, that she's just kind of down, and she's going to kind of be down, and you could choose not to be with her. That's obviously a choice, but it seems like, well, if she's down, I just don't want to be around it anymore, because that's a little bit easier, but I also don't want to not be with her because that doesn't feel good. So again, I'm getting the feeling of it's easier, but not facing it directly. Either I can live with her and accept that she gets depressed or has this mood that's different than me, or going to parties is hard for her. But it's either, okay, if that's how she is, then I accept it, or be with someone else. But it's like, again, you're picking half of both. So you're kind of with her, kind of not, rather than...
I like to think of myself in the transition, except my transitions take a long time.
Yeah.
So we have both kind of accepted the fact that, we don't make each other happy in long term. But, with COVID and everything, and also with at this age, it's not, you just don't snap your finger and the next person shows up and...
Well, but and that's itself something, right? Snap my fingers means I don't want to be sad in between.
I see. And are you saying that that's a price one would have to pay?
Yeah,
to go through
exactly. And it's easier said than done, but it's that if I want to be in a relationship, if you do your, you've done your due diligence of figuring out it's not the right relationship, working on it, if you want, feeling that motivation to go to couples therapy, all of that, and then you decide it's not the right partner, then you have to accept, I have to be sad for a while in order to be with someone that I think will make me happier. It's the only way.
There's no perfect solution that... so can I mean, you have talked to a lot of people, and is it acceptable to give yourself a year to say, I'm going to be in limbo for 1 year, and then at the end of that year, is that an acceptable amount of time?
It is, but what do you mean limbo of deciding what?
Limbo of... Okay, if I tell her that, okay, we're through, I'm not going to see you again, we're not going to have a relationship, kind of expect to be sad and...
Oh, you mean
get into another thing in about a year?
That limbo afterwards, so we always say like time heals, which it definitely does, but it depends on what we do with that time. So you break your leg, if you run on it every day, 1 year won't heal it. But if you see doctors, get a cast, give it rest, it could get better in I don't know how many months. So time is important, but it's what you do with the time that can be even more important to determine what happens in between. But you would have to expect, if you've been with her 10, 11 years, you likely it'll be important for you to take some time and to actually avoid the temptation that all people have, but especially in you, we're seeing it show up in a lot of places, to be like, well, I'm sad, let me date someone because that's going to make me feel better. So
rebound.
I think it's good is that you do a lot of healthy things to take care of yourself, which is wonderful, but there is this sense I'm getting from you that it's like, if I'm sad, I got to get rid of it. So how do I get rid of it? Oh, I'm sad. If I'm with someone, I'll be happier today if I have a date tonight and I'm getting close to some new person, but maybe it's not the right time, and so I would want you to even take a little bit of time in between. And so when you're asking a year, maybe it could be a year, but to give yourself at least sometimes 6 months plus before you're in a relationship with someone else, and the urge might be, well, I don't feel good, I need to not feel this way. So one of the signs of mental health, to me, there's so many signs, but one big one is our frustration tolerance, or our ability to tolerate negative feelings when they come up, because inevitably that's part of life. That, okay, I'm sad, and maybe you could do something, exercise, do the things you do that are great, but you might still be sad and have to tolerate that I'll have to get through this and not just act on something to change it. Or I don't feel good when I'm around my partner when she's down, but maybe I can tolerate that. Not I have to fix her. Even that fixing feeling, one is there's a sense of responsibility, and two, it doesn't make you feel good when she's always just, okay, let's get her happy. Come on, we got to get her out of this because this doesn't feel good. But if we can actually tolerate that, okay, she's not feeling good, I'll do what I can to support. There's only so much I can do, but I might have to tolerate her sadness if I want to be with her. You don't have to. But that's a sense I'm getting, and it relates to a lot of the themes of even the work, is that when there is a bad feeling, we're going to go away from that to the comfort. And what you're doing is you're living a life where you're in a lot of ways getting by and surviving, but I don't think you're going to feel so fulfilled and have the meaning in your life that you would really want, or would be even more optimal, because of avoiding the pain more than going towards what's even better for you but might be harder in the moment.
So the price of happiness is putting in your time and being sad.
That sounds almost oxymoronic, but I think that's true. And happiness is an interesting word, like lots of psychological terms. We use them in different ways. Sometimes people mean like joy or pleasure in the moment, and what I mean is more like a fulfillment and contentment. Happiness is a more longer, slower burn of feeling good about your life, which means, yes, a lot of times in the moments you won't do what feels good because you're going towards something greater or bigger, which will require you to do that.
In that, quote, air quotes, sadness, that the time that I'm putting to be sad, is that in preparation because I'm not ready for another relationship, or I may pick the wrong person because I just want to be happy for the moment? Or are those like the fear of making the wrong choices? Is that why you have to pay that sadness price?
In the sense, yes, but it's more that also when you are saying goodbye to someone, there should be some sad feelings there that you need to deal with and express, rather than trying to, then the next person just becomes a drug. And you could get lucky and choose the right person, but you also might not be ready to create the right relationship if you haven't grieved the last person. So if you're using them to help heal the pain of the last one, or to actually numb the pain of the last one, you're not going to create a good relationship with them. And so the urge is there, because the quickest thing that'll make you feel good is probably actually call her back or to be with someone else. But we have to resist that urge, because there's some healing and some things to process to then get ready for the relationship, both in our emotional sense and then to choose the right person, to not just if we're trying to get away from sadness, anyone will do, and it'll be short term, and but then you're not dealing with the actual issues that are there. So, then looking at the work, also I think this is something to be aware of. How am I avoiding the negative feelings? And when you're around people, maybe it feels too big, there's more accountability. You probably get energized also, but the accountability might make it that it's going to feel bad not to do it when people are watching, rather than it's just the energy you're getting from them. So there does seem to be avoidance is one of the coping that almost everyone does to a degree. That's what all procrastination tends to be, is avoidance. Oh. And so it does seem to be that avoidance is a go-to for you. You deal with things in a very healthy way, the exercise and other ways. But there is a theme of avoidance that runs through all of that I think is going to be worth evaluating for yourself. Avoidance.
So do you have an avoidance pill that people subscribe?
Yeah, the avoidance pill is it's a bitter one, I'll tell you that much, because it's going to be tough. And even looking at, I'll wrap up now, but even going into therapy for yourself, looking at where has this come from. Usually in childhood, for example, how were negative feelings dealt with? How did your parents respond to your negative feelings or being sad? Or how do they talk about being sad? A lot of families, it's like, oh, don't be crying, it's weak, or you're this, or why do you care about this? Right. Yeah. Or anger, oh, why are you getting angry? You can't get angry at me, you shouldn't get angry. So a lot of times we've been taught from a very young age that negative feelings are bad and you shouldn't have these ones that don't feel good. And then also we haven't been given the coping mechanisms of how to just sit with that. It's a strange thing, but parents, of course, you try to cheer your kid up, but you also want to show them that it's okay when you're feeling sad. We can wait and it's going to pass and you're going to be okay. We don't have to quickly get rid of it. And so those are some things to reflect on, and I would recommend going to your own therapy. I think it's good for everyone.
What kind of therapist should I choose?
Someone you feel comfortable. Well, no, psychiatrist is more for medication. Of course, some of them do therapy as well. But I would say, yeah, psychologist, a therapist that you feel comfortable. Think about, male, female, age, Iranian, not Iranian, what kind of demographics, and then try to meet with someone and then see if you feel comfortable. And then once you do, this is like a long-term type of thing. It's a relationship type of thing, 6 months, a year.
I may get the acronym wrong. Was that CBT?
Cognitive behavioral therapy. That can be helpful.
Is that a good thing for me?
It can be. I don't think there's one school of therapy that's the right one. There's a lot of things, depends on the therapist themselves should practice what resonates with them, but also clients can respond differently to different things. And a lot of the research on therapy has found that the most important thing above and beyond the specific theory being used is the relationship that's built between the client and the therapist is the most healing and therapeutic factor. So that's why think about what kind of therapist you think you'll feel comfortable with as far as some demographic things, and then meet with them and feel how you feel. It's going to be a little uncomfortable to go to therapy, but do you feel comfortable and safe and that you can trust this person? And then go forward, at least 6 months, a year into that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll look for one.
Nice talking to you. Have a good rest of your day. Wish you the best.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Let's go to our next commercial break. We'll be right back.